Something I hear a lot from high achievers who struggle with anxiety and perfectionism is this: life finally slowed down a little, so why do I still feel on edge? Their schedule becomes a little more manageable, work settles down for a few days, nothing major is wrong in their relationships. They finally have an evening with nothing urgent demanding their attention, and somehow their mind still keeps moving. Part of them starts replaying conversations from earlier that day. They suddenly feel pulled toward revisiting things that were already taken care of. A colleague takes longer than usual to respond, and their attention immediately starts searching for meaning in it. What makes this confusing is that most people experiencing this already understand these patterns intellectually. They know they overthink. They recognize perfectionism in themselves. They understand that they put too much pressure on themselves. And still, another part of them keeps getting pulled back toward urgency, anticipation, self-monitoring, and emotional tension anyway. That disconnect frustrates people because they assume awareness should have changed the pattern already. Usually, the missing piece is understanding how familiarity works emotionally. So your subconscious mind naturally moves toward what feels familiar and predictable, even when those patterns are exhausting. Over time, familiar stress can start feeling emotionally normal simply because your mind has spent years adapting to it. Familiarity equals safety for your subconscious, and eventually, openness and uncertainty can start feeling harder to tolerate than that pressure itself. Many high achievers dealing with anxiety and perfectionism become highly practiced at functioning inside anticipation, overthinking, emotional monitoring, constant productivity, and pressure. And after enough repetition, those patterns stop feeling unusual, they start feeling expected. So for some people, constant mental activity starts creating a strange sense of emotional structure. It can give you a sense of control because you feel like you're doing something productive. You know what to do when there's a problem to solve. You know how to function when somebody needs something from you. You know how to stay mentally occupied when your attention is focused on preparing or anticipating, fixing or proving yourself. Openness is different. It leaves room for uncertainty. And uncertainty can become deeply uncomfortable for people whose subconscious beliefs tend to be organized around responsibility, preparedness, usefulness, or fear of getting something wrong. This is why you suddenly become intensely productive during free time, even though you were desperate for a break 2 days earlier. Or this is why part of you spends 20 minutes rewriting a simple text message, trying to make sure it sounds thoughtful enough, clear enough, warm enough, or impossible to misinterpret. This is why you mentally rehearse conversations before social events and then replay them again afterward, looking for evidence that you sounded stupid, awkward, selfish, or emotionally off somehow. These patterns often get dismissed as personality quirks. Usually there's much more happening underneath them. Part of you learned, if I stay mentally occupied, I feel like I'm doing something about a perceived problem. Or if I anticipate problems early enough, I can avoid discomfort. Or if I stay useful, attentive, and responsible, maybe I can avoid criticism, rejection, conflict, or failure. Those subconscious beliefs become deeply entrenched over time. They create little roads in your brain, so that way of thinking and being becomes so automatic that you don't even pay attention to it. I once worked with a client who I'll call Lauren, who explained this dynamic in a way many of you will probably recognize. Lauren was a physician in her late 30s, extremely dependable, highly respected, the person coworkers trusted during stressful situations because she always appeared composed and organized. When she first started therapy, she told me she wanted better work-life balance. Then she described what happened after work every night. She would sit down around 9 o'clock, intending to slow down for the evening, and within minutes, her attention started searching for unfinished business. Some nights she reorganized her calendar repeatedly, even though everything was technically already scheduled. Other nights she replayed conversations with coworkers, wondering whether she sounded distracted or unprepared. If her husband seemed distracted or less engaged than usual, part of her immediately started wondering whether she had done something wrong. What upset her most was that she could see herself doing it while it was happening. And during one session, she said, "I'm exhausted all the time, but part of me still feels uncomfortable when nothing needs my attention. And that sentence was very illuminating for her. Lauren understood her patterns intellectually very quickly once we discussed them. The harder part was recognizing how emotionally familiar that constant mental engagement had become for her over the years. Part of her associated anxiety with preparedness and usefulness with self-worth. Part of her believed that if she stayed mentally ahead of everything, she could prevent disappointment, mistakes, conflict, or even criticism. So when life became a little more open and less demanding, her attention automatically started searching for the next thing to organize or monitor or solve or anticipate. That pattern is extremely common among high achievers struggling with anxiety and perfectionism. And this is where many people become incredibly hard on themselves. They think, if I already understand this pattern, why do I still keep doing it? Because logical awareness and emotional familiarity are two very separate processes. Your conscious mind may fully recognize that overthinking is exhausting, while another part of you still experiences anticipation and mental preparation as emotionally organizing. That's why you continue repeating patterns you already understand intellectually. Some people keep over-explaining themselves even when nobody asks for justification, because part of them is trying to prevent misunderstanding before it happens. Others monitor relationships for subtle changes in tone or responsiveness or behavior because part of them is bracing for something to go wrong. And others recreate unnecessary pressure during calmer periods because openness feels emotionally unfamiliar and difficult to tolerate. And these reactions often feel irrational afterward, but during the moment, they feel emotionally convincing. And that's an important thing to understand about yourself compassionately. Many high achievers became highly practiced at anticipating problems long before they learned how to tolerate uncertainty without immediately reacting to it. Over time, anticipation itself starts feeling like an emotional baseline and a way to gain a sense of control. And this pattern becomes especially noticeable in relationships. So some people become extremely sensitive to subtle emotional shifts without fully realizing how much mental energy that consumes. A shorter response suddenly grabs your full attention. Somebody sounding distracted during dinner creates an immediate urge to figure out what's wrong. Part of your mind starts mentally reviewing interactions and searching for clues. And another part of you may know nothing serious is happening, but the emotional pull still feels strong anyway. And that happens because your attention may already be highly trained to scan for disappointment or rejection, criticism, tension, or disconnection. After enough repetition, the monitoring becomes automatic. Hypervigilance and hyper-awareness have just become second nature for you. And many high achievers dealing with anxiety and perfectionism spend years becoming exceptionally good at reading other people while slowly losing touch with what's happening internally for themselves. So resentment can build there, loneliness can build there. So can the painful feeling that your value mostly comes from being useful, prepared, accommodating, or emotionally reliable for everyone else. And that becomes very difficult to untangle through insight alone. One helpful practice this week is paying attention to moments when your mind immediately starts trying to create certainty. Maybe somebody's mood feels off. Maybe plans change unexpectedly. Maybe you receive vague feedback at work. Before jumping into fixing, apologizing, over-explaining, preparing, or mentally spiraling, pause and ask yourself, what feels uncomfortable about this moment? Keep the question simple. Many people discover that discomfort has less to do with the actual situation and more to do with uncertainty itself. Another helpful practice involves noticing what happens during slower moments of the day. Avoid immediately filling the space with productivity, planning, stimulation, or problem solving. Just observe your internal reaction honestly for a few moments. Does part of you start feeling uneasy when nothing urgent needs your attention? Does your attention start generating new problems to solve? Do you feel pressure to stay useful even when nobody is asking anything from you directly? Those reactions often reveal how strongly your subconscious beliefs have linked self-worth, preparedness, and emotional control together over time. Awareness won't erase these patterns overnight. Still, noticing them honestly creates space for different ways of responding to build gradually over time. We're building new pathways in your brain so you don't keep going down the same old road. And that process deserves compassion, especially for people who spent years learning how to survive through overfunctioning, responsibility, and constant mental anticipation. Many high achievers dealing with anxiety and perfectionism spent years adapting to pressure, anticipation, emotional monitoring, and self-criticism. Eventually, the familiarity of that operating system becomes the way you've always been. That doesn't mean it's the way it has to be, though. You're capable of change. It does mean the uncertainty of doing something different may feel emotionally uncomfortable for a while. Change can't exist without discomfort, and most people struggling with this are already deeply insightful. The harder part involves recognizing how strongly familiar emotional patterns continue shaping behavior long after you understand them logically. If this conversation resonated with you, I'd genuinely be curious what felt most recognizable. Was it the pressure to stay useful, the tendency to mentally prepare for problems before they happen, the emotional pull toward overthinking, the discomfort that appears when life becomes more open and less demanding? You can share in the comments if you'd like. I genuinely love to hear from you. And if you want to explore this topic more deeply, you may find my book Unpacked helpful. It focuses on the subconscious beliefs and emotional patterns that keep many people struggling with anxiety and perfectionism repeating cycles they already understand intellectually, but still struggle to change emotionally.